Hey there, Banditos. Welcome to the latest Monday episode of the Dollar Bin Bandits, where, as always, we fling open the doors of your local comic book shop and bring you interviews with your favorite comic book creators of yesterday and today. And look, this week, guys, I got great news for you. All right? It's a Just Joe week. Every episode, all week, just me. And the people that we get to interview, of course. And today, we're bringing you just an amazing interview. It's a kid in a candy store. That's the best way I could describe it. We're talking to the gentleman who produced and directed the Legend of the Kingdom Come documentary that you've probably been seeing advertised in social media lately. They had a Kickstarter that just blew the doors away on their goal. Within 24 hours, they blew right past it. We're talking to none other than producer Sal Abbinanti and director Remsy Atassi. This is a great interview, and I can't wait for their movie to come out. This film they spent 5 years making during COVID and after, and just spending just endless amounts of time with Alex Ross, filming him working, the painstaking process that it goes through to make all his amazing work, plus all the interviews. And they've been able to weave in a light narrative to kind of really hold the whole thing together. So it's just an absolute fantastic, fantastic interview. Definitely looking forward to this film. So without further ado, this is Sal Abbinanti and Remsy Atassi. Perfect. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. How you doing?
Fantastic.
I'm doing great. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's this is great subject matter. I mean, Kingdom Come is near and dear to everyone in comics. I don't think anyone has anything bad to say about it. Before we get into that, though, I have to ask, how did you guys first discover comics? Sal, I'll start with you.
I had a lot of older brothers, so I kind of got the hand-me-down thing going on, but they were DC guys. And then I went to public schools when the corner drugstore had the spinner racks, and so I gravitated towards them immediately. And I was a Marvel guy. And the problem was my drugstore was in between like three schools. So if you didn't get there today, they got the comics. There was nothing left but like Archie and Little Lotta. But I grew up in an all-Italian neighborhood and nobody bought Luke Cage. So I didn't care that he was a black superhero. I just thought, hey, man, it's cool. So to this day, he's my favorite Marvel character because nobody bought Luke Cage in my neighborhood. An all-Italian neighborhood, it's tough. Luke Cage is a tough sell. But that's my 2 cents.
Remsy?
Yeah, so I grew up in the 90s, and so I read comics, I read some books here and there, but I would not consider myself like a super fan. I think when I got a little older, I got into the classic graphic novels were what really I think were my first things that I was really into. Watchmen, Mouse, Dark Knight Returns. Those were, and I'm an art guy. I'm a filmmaker, and so those kind of big works brought me in. But truthfully, my grand entrance into comics was meeting these guys about 8 years ago. I met Sal and Alex. They brought me on to start creating some content and videos with Alex. And so I kind of learned from the best. It's kind of, I guess, strange. It seems strange to say that now because as I've gotten deeper into it and I've become I've learned so much and I've become a big fan, and you're like learning from, you learn about comics from Alex Ross. I guess there's nobody better to learn them from because he knows everything there is about comics.
Oh, yeah.
That's certainly true. I mean, iconic is, an understatement for his work. I mean, he's just amazing. I have Alex Ross poster there, one over there. So yeah, he's amazing.
I like to say he can make anybody a comic fan because he kind of made me. I mean, not that I wasn't. Again, I love the art and I was into comics, but like he made me appreciate it so much more.
It's the art that it pulls you in. I mean, when I even showed, my wife and she was like, "Ooh, wow." And then, she's thumbing through the graphic novel. So how did you guys get together? You touched on it, but specifically for this project?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, I guess I can just continue from that. So
Yeah.
I met these guys and they brought me in to start making some work with Alex. And, we were making stuff for his channel. We were kind of launching his YouTube channel at the time. And Sal was always early in social media. And so Alex was already, he had a big audience and obviously a lot of fans. I mean, he was well established at that point. But as I was working with them, I kind of realized right away this is an amazing subject for a documentary. Like I said, I'm a filmmaker, so I kind of see everything through that lens. And I was thinking it would be cool to do a documentary about Alex, but over time, it became kind of clear that he was a lot more interested in working on this story. And as I became more familiar with it, I read the book. I mean, I was blown away by the art, and Sal was there at the creation of it. He was there during this whole time back in the day. And so all the kind of stars aligned in that way. And Sal's been so passionate. I mean, he's been the driving force behind this doc, no doubt. I mean, he's believed in it from the very beginning. So I'd say about 5-6 years we've been truly working on it. COVID derailed us a little bit. And then like 22, we kind of picked back up. Is that right, Sal?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Remsy was like, hey, we really should get this thing finished because COVID kind of knocked the wind out of everybody and we lost a lot of momentum. And Remsy was the one that said, hey, we really should reevaluate this and see what's fresh and see what we need to finish. And post-production that's the real gorilla in this stuff. So we felt we had something there, something really cool, especially when the animation started to come together and the music. Remsy's brother Remsy Atassi was instrumental with the music, and it all started to, really flesh out. And but yeah, definitely COVID really sidelined everything, put it on ice for a while.
Did it change from your first go around and after COVID? Did you perhaps, after you're looking at it with somewhat fresh eyes at that point, did you think, okay, let's reevaluate how we're going to approach this and maybe look at it from a different angle, or is you pretty much stayed the course the entire way through?
Remsy is the filmmaker. He's also the editor. So we had looked at different versions or kind of a few rough cuts. But once, like I said before, once the animation started to really, put it together, kind of stream out the narrative. And Remsy had found a lot of cool stuff about what was going on in comics in the 90s, because you could do a doc just on that, because the comic world in the 90s was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few versions. We had a lot of great content. We were fortunate enough that we lucked into some really great interviews that we didn't necessarily plan on. And we had agreed that I think that the guts of the story had to be about the art and had to be about the book itself, because that's what the fan base wanted. But Remsy was also a big proponent of we have to have this narrative. We have to make it a film for the fan base, but also for everybody.
Yeah, I think that partly because as I came in it through looking at it through the lens of Alex and kind of seeing comics in the world in that way, I realized that the book was, because like Kingdom Come to any comic fan is a household name, but I think if you go outside of like the big the comic world, I think maybe it's not quite it's pretty well known, but it's not maybe quite as well known as those books that have crossed over. And so I thought it would be a cool challenge to try and bring the story to that audience too. Obviously there's a lot of stuff in here for the fans, and like Sal said, I mean, we've done like 150 animations. It's been a labor of love, and we're passionate about it. I mean, we've unearthed thousands of sketches and images and reference photos, and so like that's all in there. But also we kind of try to frame it, because it's a really interesting story. Frame it in the context of like the time that it was made, but also the book has a lot more meaning if you understand the history of these characters. If you understand the history of Superman, you understand the history of the Justice League and how far back it goes, and what was happening in the 80s and 90s and why the book was made. The great thing about it is I think that it really does transcend the time. Like it holds up. You could read it now and not necessarily know that, and I think it still works because it's telling a really classic story with these characters. And honestly, it's been so influential that the characters, a lot of them are referenced. I think like a lot of the designs and the approaches to the characters still lean on the what came from Kingdom Come, but you put it in the context of its time, and I think it's an interesting story. It's very fascinating, the stuff that was going on in the '90s and their approach to the characters, and then I mean now comics and comic characters and pop culture. It's like the dominant thing. So it's fascinating.
What is it like working with Alex Ross and being, I mean, I've seen a lot of the, his social media videos. I have, various versions of Kingdom Come Absolute, and it's back there somewhere. Working with someone who is such an amazing artist, how do you capture his creative process? I mean, it's pretty amazing. Sketches, painting, all the the various iterations thereof. I mean, what is that like, and how long does that take to really encapsulate in this movie?
Well, it can be tough because Alex is very, very passionate about it. He's very, very, he takes it tremendously serious. That's one thing I kind of grasped about him immediately before we were working together, and he asked me to model for him. To be in Kingdom Come is kind of how I met him, through friends, to be Captain Marvel. And then I thought it was just kind of a lark. And then when I saw his storyboards and his approach to his photography and how he laid out the book, and his thumbnails were incredibly detailed, and his attention to detail of the folds of the material and the shadows and the composition, then you realize, okay, this is not, we're not here to just, play grab ass. This is pretty serious. This guy is really, really serious about this. So we kind of touch on that. We also got to show the process, but, to Remsy's point earlier, we also have to show him for who he is for his fans, but also kind of back up a little bit so that we can reach a broader audience. Anybody who looks at Alex's work immediately makes the connection between him and Norman Rockwell and painted comics, which were kind of a new thing when Alex was starting. There were some, obviously Bill Sienkiewicz and Earl Norman, and a lot of the painted Marvel covers that Alex was influenced by. But I think as long as because him and Mark Waid is the same way. They're such students and they're such historians of comics. They revere this stuff. They're like scholars of comic book medium. That as long as you treat it with the respect that it deserves, because this is our thing. We don't apologize. I always tell my wife, I go, we don't apologize for this. This is how we we put food on the table. This is kind of our thing. As long Remsy understood that as a filmmaker, and as long as we treated this stuff with respect, and that we felt it deserved, because I always felt Alex's work belonged in galleries and museums from when I first started working with him, that we were on the same page, because Remsy's the same way as a filmmaker. He approaches it very seriously. So him and Alex developed kind of a mutual respect right away.
Yeah, and I think from a purely technical standpoint, when we're capturing Alex, because we have done a lot of this over the years, it's like we like to capture it. We like to get like an overhead so we can see the whole process, because we like to be able to go to that and see the time lapse or be able to go to it. And then, but also we find it's important to be able to get the detail shots so we can see, you can really see intimately what he's doing, and it's kind of a little more arty. But having a third camera that's just like, because we usually Alex, he just talks the whole time. Like we're chatting about stuff, we're throwing stuff at him. And so we got another camera. And so it's like, we have these really long form interviews that we're able to capture with him at the table. That's always like, we're always getting new insights, and it's cool. I think Sal talks about this a lot, which is that maybe people don't fully appreciate with Alex how much his design sensibility is set, like kind of an essential thing of what he does, and how important that really is to his work. Because as a painter, he's really dialed it in. Like I guess what I'm saying is, by the time we're there capturing him painting, he goes really quick because he knows exactly how to get what he wants out of it. And that's because he's done all that design work. So like Sal said with his thumbnails, he does these super detailed thumbnails and sketches and layouts. And so that's like 90% of the work is actually done because he is such a prolific painter that he's got his thing. He knows how to get the look and he's dialed in. So the crazy thing is, I mean, I've never. I mean, I guess we haven't done. Backgrounds are different, but with like characters and stuff, I mean, he does them all in a day. I feel like when we work with him, he knocks us on a day.
That's amazing. It really is amazing because you see the level of detail and realism in his work, and it is astounding. I mean, I still just stare at the pages and those. If you see, the graphic novel has like 3 pages of just the character lineups, and you could just see, in the very far background, there's like there are eyes, and then there's a key, and you got to read who that. It's amazing. How did you guys decide who? I mean, you mentioned so many people that you had a chance to interview, but how do you decide who to interview, who to leave in the final cut? And maybe who doesn't actually, not that you have to, tell me that, but like, not really, worth including.
You start with kind of a wish list. There's some people that I wanted in it that didn't make the cut, or we just couldn't arrange it, or we had conflict of schedules. And then there's some that aren't great. It's kind of a surprise sometimes on who gets flop sweat, so to speak, and who doesn't. Some are great at it. Like, Brian Polito was tremendous and Todd McFarlane was tremendous. But then also so was John Suntress. And so was the Benson sisters, and, Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor were fantastic. But you kind of, that's a Remsy call, where Remsy's kind of like, we got something here. But even when we got a lot of great stuff with Todd, and with the Blu-ray, we're fortunate that we're going to include 90 bonus minutes of some of the additional interviews and things.
That's news, Sal. You're breaking news right now.
Not breaking
Right
news.
here.
Well,
Right
I'm sorry. We realized that's important, that stuff just doesn't get thrown away. So we don't know. Let me back up. We don't know if we're going to include 90 minutes.
I could put an edit point right there.
Additional minutes, because we got such great stuff, and you can't just get rid of it all. But also for the narrative, it's almost like that comedian that he's great for 40 minutes, but then when he goes to an hour, you're kind of sick of it. We found that when we were cutting it, Remsy and I looked at multiple versions, and sometimes it just was like, okay, already, it was too long, or it was going too long. And Alex wanted a lot of stuff that we just couldn't necessarily add. So we're going to find ways. Let me put it this way. We're going to find ways
There's like storylines that we really liked, that we got great stuff on, that, in the end we cut because it was just like they were, it's a tight film, and it really tells the story, and we tried to really keep it like engaging, I think. So, you really hang with it. So we had to cut a couple stories out, and then, the interviews, I mean, you get tremendous stuff from people. The truth is, when you're cutting it, it's just trying to tell the story is so elusive and frustrating at times that you're not really thinking too much about like, oh, I need to include more of this person or this person. It's like literally like you're looking for a piece of information. It's like, okay, it's here. Amazing. We got it from this person. We're going to use this person. And then when you're at this stage now, it's like Sal saying, like, everyone's like, how long am I in the movie? Right. And I get it, but God. Also it's like, that's not really a consideration when you're editing it. It's like, you're just like,
there were a few that got away, but there were more that we were grateful we got, like Alex's father.
Yeah.
Great. We got him, and, Alex's father passed away, during COVID, and we were just so fortunate to have him. But there were a few that I wanted that just, we couldn't get it lined up, and so sometimes it's just timing. We would have liked to have had a few more comic creators, but I also feel we got it. We got a sweet spot of, you got to know, you got to appreciate what you have more than what you don't have. So we were grateful to get who we got.
How long is the final cut?
Yeah, so it's still a little bit of a work in progress. I think it's probably going to run about 80 minutes when it's all said and done.
That's great. That's a nice, respectable
It's a sweet
length.
spot.
It really is.
Yeah. Like I said, we tried to keep it tight because you want people to be really engaged. I mean, we had some versions that were longer, and it's like if there's a spot where, for me, I'm like after. I mean, I've seen the thing 1,000 times, but it's like you hit a point where it's like, okay, if you're kind of drifting or not paying attention, or it's just not bringing you back to the core story, it's like, hey, you should probably cut it, even if you like it. There, like I said, there's some stories. I truthfully, some of the stuff about the '90s and the speculative comics and all that, we got a lot of that because I found that fascinating. But it ended up being a bit much. We touch on it, but not as deep as it was in one cut. So you go back and forth. I mean, I think by the beginning of this year, we were kind of locked up on the editing just because it takes so long to get all these other post-production things done. So, you got to eventually, and same thing with the interviews. It's like eventually you got to just close the gate. You're like, okay, otherwise you'll never get anything done.
Right.
I mean, we've already spent years on this thing. So, yeah.
So let me ask you this, a non-Kingdom Come question. How do you, spending so much time on a particular project, how do you remain passionate for it? That is more for myself.
It was easier because we were coming out of COVID. We started it during COVID. We were coming out of COVID, but we were, Remsy and I were continuing to create content all along for the stuff we were doing with, Alex's social media and things like that. So it just always sort of came back to Kingdom Come. But Remsy and I always, from the beginning, we talked about doing something more ambitious. And we felt that we had reached that point of, okay, we've done a lot of great stuff. We've done thousands of hours of great content, but we want to go to that next point. And then when Remsy started to introduce into the project new vendors, so to speak, new creative elements, that's kind of what really started to go, wow, this is new. We've never done this before. We've never done the animation before. We've never done the 3D stuff. We've never done the computer generated stuff. So that was like, wow, this was exciting because we hadn't had that in the music and the use of the title designs and all that stuff. So it was a constant evolution, I guess, creatively that Remsy injected into the project that made it like, we really got to finish this thing. And then when you get to a point where people almost expect you not to finish it, because a lot of filmmakers just, the movie just never, it just kind of lies there. It's the same way in comics. I've known more people that have had projects that they talk about them for 20 years and it never gets done. That when you're working with Alex, you got to finish the damn thing because he's not going to let it go. He was always kind of, hey, where you guys at? Hey, where you guys at? And I was like, shit, we got to finish this now.
I agree. I agree. I was going to say the same thing. I think there's two parts. One is bringing in other people, having a team, a collaborative process is key because a project this big, you can get so in the weeds with it and it gets kind of hard to see the forest for the trees, so to speak. Sometimes it's also just even the smaller team, which is our close internal team, and having like Sal, because I had another film that I was doing at the same time, like a narrative film that we released in 22, but we shot just before the pandemic. And so
Bad Animal.
Bad Animal. Yep. Narrative film.
Got a tremendous indie film he produced before this, which is,
yeah. So, and that's available now, but I can say that there's the different stages. When you're in production, it's one thing, and it's easy to get excited about something in production. When you're in post, especially you're a video editor, you're really in the trenches. But then you're talking about releasing something and getting ready for all of the marketing and the publicity and bringing it to the audience. That's the hardest part. I mean, that's harder than making the film. So all these different parts of it, like to have a team that can really rally and push. And Sal has just been the biggest advocate and the biggest supporter for this. And it would have definitely never happened without him. I mean, it's a collaborative thing, but it's like you always need that driving force. And Sal, he always answers the phone. And if there's a problem, he's always ready to get into it. So that's what keeps the project going. And then that goal of we want to bring this to the fans ultimately. Like, we're excited to bring it to the fans. And so we don't want to let people down. So that's important as well.
So speaking of fans, this being a Kickstarter project blew it the hell out of the water. I mean, just
Yeah,
amazing.
we're really grateful. People have really
How
supported it.
how long did it take you to surpass your goal?
It was a few hours.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
knew what we knew. Well, I knew that I mean, working with Alex now for 25 years, I mean, no offense to Alex, no offense to Marvels and Justice and the Treasury editions and Earth X and Uncle Sam and all the stuff he's done over the years. KC Kingdom Come is his, that's the work that spoke to the DC fan base the loudest, and that's the one that he's known for. That's the one that when you see a line waiting for Alex at a signing, 2/3 are holding Kingdom Come. That's just how it is. So we felt that originally, Remsy and I spoke, talked about doing a documentary about Alex, and then it just didn't seem to be coming together, and we weren't enthusiastic enough about it because it seemed vague. So when we pivoted to Kingdom Come, we felt that it had a built-in audience, because every time we would post something on social media, the response to Kingdom Come is always 2/3 higher than any other images we post. So we suspected maybe that it was going to be greeted, received well, and backers would want to jump on it and really be enthusiastic about it. We didn't think it was going to be as crazy as it was. We're tremendously appreciative of the response, the way it's been. But we also knew it was important, having done Kickstarter campaigns in the past, that all the bells and whistles and all the indie crowd that goes to Kickstarter wants that relationship. And you also have to provide them with order fulfillment, number one, which, no one wants to hear your problems. And two, that, with having it be an Alex Ross project and a Kingdom Come project, that we wanted to be able to provide, lithograph packages and trading cards and multiple versions of the Blu-ray and all those things. So it was kind of a win-win for us, but also having that one-on-one connection with the indie market through Kickstarter is exciting.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
exciting.
and it's I mean the campaign's still going. So we've got a couple more
Yeah.
weeks here, and at this point we are trying to, I mean, it's kind of like what Sal was saying, we're trying to think of some cool, sort of as a thank you, some additional bonuses we can keep giving people. So we are definitely looking at enhancing the Blu-ray. We're hearing what people are asking for, because people have come out in the comments, like people are coming out
Oh,
overwhelmingly for the
it's
different.
great.
It's
The
amazing. I mean,
the
they're
ideas that
excited
people come
about.
up with are like a paramount. You're like,
Yeah, a
wow,
lot of
why didn't they
great
think of
stuff.
that? It seems so obvious. You're like, yeah, sure, great, let's give it to them.
Yeah, so we're our team, and we've got an amazing support fulfillment team, marketing team, and we're talking every day about, responding to the comments, getting back to people, making sure we're on track, and figuring out, more exciting stuff that we can give to people. And this just gives us, truthfully, the success of the Kickstarter so far, and wherever we take it, we're excited to deliver the film, and it gives us, it validates what we're trying to do, and I feel like it excites us about being able to develop, more projects like this.
There's no other Kickstarter that I have contributed more than this one. Every time I keep reading, I'm like,
Thank
hey,
you.
got an extra. You know what? I'm gonna get that
Thanks,
one
man.
too. I'm
That
gonna do
means a
this
lot.
one. So,
A lot,
Well,
and
we're
just
not going to let you down. We're not going to let you down.
oh
sure.
no, trust me. I've seen, like I've said, I keep seeing the promos online, and I'm like, oh, I'm so psyched for this. I'm so excited. It just like, I started reading comics in the early, right when Superman died. And, there was a period of time when I got out of comics and I was like, I don't know if I want to get, really want to keep reading this. And then I, stumbled across Kingdom Come, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm in for this. I'm in for the long haul here.
It's a great campaign, but what I think is exciting about it is that it's a great film. I think that Remsy and I agreed at the beginning that all the bells and whistles and all the trappings are important for a campaign like this to be successful. But at the end of the day, if we didn't deliver a great film for the fans, as well as a film because, KC has its own built-in fan base, and they know what they want, and more importantly, they know what they don't want. So I think that we delivered that to the fans, because as a comic guy, I know what the fan base wants. I've been doing, cons for, my God, since the 90s, and been working with Alex for, over 25 years. So I know what the Kingdom Come fan base wants. I mean, if I have to sign one more copy of Kingdom Come as Billy Batson, I mean, it's
And the bonus stuff, honestly, that we're looking at now for the fact that, like I was saying, the film is the stuff we had to cut out, or the things that, we're trying to tell the story. We're putting more of the true fan service, I would say. That's also is going to be coming in the bonus features. And we're going to be rolling that out over the next couple of weeks.
You're not going to be disappointed. That's what the relief of this is. When it comes out, fans are not going to go, "What are you talking about? It doesn't have this." No, it's got it all. I mean, now we weren't able to make a $200 million
animated
Kingdom Come, which the fans are complaining.
That's what people want. That's what they want.
I'm like, guys, I would love to make a Lawrence of Arabia version of Kingdom Come with a $200 million.
We got to leave that to the big boys.
We'll get there. We'll get there. If the Kickstarter does well enough, maybe we'll have that in our budget for the next time around.
Well, we got 23 days left. We
got 23 days.
See, we can squeak out.
I need to get happen.
If it's one thing that I've realized over the years, is that comic book fans are what makes them so great also makes them a pain in the ass, and they're very, they're fans, and they will.
You said it. I didn't say it. You said
no, I'll say it. It's
okay.
It's like Star Wars fans or Star Trek fans. They can be assholes, but at the same time, they recognize when someone respects the content, and it's clear that you guys definitely do, hands down. And I think that is what is going to make this so great. Having talked to friends and coworkers who are very much a fan of Kingdom Come, and of seeing what is coming, they're ecstatic. So this is going to be something great. And before we go, I want to make sure I mindful of your time. Where can fans go to catch up on the Kickstarter, perhaps also your work, and maybe something else you have coming down the pike?
Well, yeah, legendofkingdomcome.com is where you can find out about the project. The Kickstarter link is in there, and you can find more about the project and the creators. We kind of work together on all these things, and we do have some other projects, but right now we're definitely focused on this. And I'll plug my film. It is available now. It's called Bad Animal, and so you can scope that out too. It's a narrative film, definitely quite a bit different than this, but yeah. And Sal is, he's a legendary comic creator himself. Let's not forget. So he's got his properties,
any and all,
and Mercury Comics.
AlexRossArt.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter. We're on Instagram. We produced a film through Mercury Comics and through Raw Imaging, which is Remsy's company. So all those kind of links are all incestuous and all together. But we just want,
you won't have trouble finding us. That's for sure.
Yeah. If you do have trouble finding us, I don't know what else we could do. But we're so appreciative of the response, and like Remsy was saying, the comments and the feedback. We know the comic fans very, very well, and they're passionate about this stuff, and that's good, because that's who we are. We know the comic, we know who our market is, and we know who we made this film for. So we're not, it doesn't bother me. You're gonna get an occasional, but that's gonna happen. What are you gonna do?
You got to take your punches, and we're tremendously grateful, hugely grateful.
Open yourself up for that. That's okay. It's not a big deal. I've been hearing it for 25 years. Why isn't he doing more Batman, or why isn't he? All right, we get it.
Fair enough. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Sal and
Thank
Remsy.
you.
This is it's. I gotta say, fanboying out for another minute here. It's just, I got so excited when I heard that you guys actually wanted to talk to us. So I was thrilled. So thank you so much. I look forward to this. I know a lot of our followers and fans definitely are looking forward to it. I'm going to be spending so much more money on this. It's stupid,
Well,
but
thank you.
it's totally
It's
worth
our
it.
pleasure, man. Thank you for having us here. Thank you so much for the
You're
support of the
not going to be
project.
disappointed. I won't be getting any hate mail from you. I promise you.
Hell no, nothing. You're going to
Okay.
be love
We deliver.
letters.
We know how to deliver. We know how
We're
to
going to
deliver.
deliver.
Dear
Yes.
Sal, this was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
we're
much.
not. Too many people know where I live. I have.
That's right.
They come up to me at cons all the time. Hey,
And
where's
there we go. What is the projected date for this to be released?
Well, we're saying spring 25 for the Kickstarter. By March of 25 is really what we're hoping for delivery, and that's going to be of all the fulfillment on this stuff. Also for the digital access to the film on our site, Comic Book Pros, which is kind of our filmmaking collective for the comic stuff. The film is going to be coming in other ways, no doubt. I'm sure, we're kind of that's in conversation, but at this point, this is the only way to get the film. So Kickstarter is at least until the spring. This is going to be the only way to do it, and the film's pretty much done. So I feel really confident about delivering it. Spring 25, March 25. I feel solid on that, right, Sal?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically baked. It's done. It's in the can. We just have, the final things, the final trappings to kind of put it together and bake it, so to speak, and cut the Blu-rays and get it out there. And so, yes, order fulfillment is paramount. So we know that's we can't sleep until that's 100% done. But yeah, I would say early 2025 is definitely where we want to put this baby to bed.
And we're back. So I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. It's absolutely fantastic. I had a great time talking to these two gentlemen. I adore Kingdom Come. It's one of my favorite graphic novels of all time. It's a go-to. Whenever I want to read something and I just don't know what, I just find myself checking it out again, just staring at the artwork. I think we're all in for a fantastic film. If we all enjoy Kingdom Come as much as I'm pretty sure everyone in comics does, this is going to be a great ride. So I highly recommend you checking it out. Go check out their Kickstarter. Go to Kickstarter.com, and I'm sure it'll be easy to find The Legend of Kingdom Come. If you haven't done so, possibly, contribute to their Kickstarter. They still have another 20-something days left. There are a lot of great incentives if you do. I have a few times, and I may again. So, like we always say, rate, review, subscribe. Go check out the CBC Awards website. If you could, we would greatly appreciate a vote or two in the categories that we've been nominated for. And as always, please be sure to come back this Wednesday for another episode of the Dollar Bin Bandits, where I'll be bringing you another fantastic interview with some absolutely fantastic creators. So, until then, have a great week.